everybody, and welcome to tonight's broadcast, I guess. HOA, worth it? Your guide to understanding homeowners associations. Ready, set, and go. So, welcome to this live tip and a sip. Oh, that's some good sweet tea. As always, like, subscribe, and comment. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, feel free to comment. I look over here to the left where I have the comments up, so if you do have any questions, feel free to comment. So, HOAs, are they worth it? Your guide to understanding homeowners associations. So, let's start off with the question of what is an HOA, and then we'll ask a couple other questions and kind of answer along the way. And then at the end, we'll re-ask the question and see what you have to say. So what does the three little letters HOA stand for, and what is it? So HOA stands for Homeowner Association. It's an organization in a subdivision, a planned community, say a condo building, apartment type building, that makes and enforces the rules for the properties and the residents. Now, those who purchase property in an HOA, they're automatically members of that HOA, and they were required to pay dues if that's what's asked of them, but they have to go by the rules. And, basically the dues, they're known as HOA fees and everything along those lines, so we'll talk about that. Over 40 million households live in HOA here in America. Collectively, they represent over 370,000 homeowner associations here in the United States. So what are some pros and some cons for an HOA? So one of the pros for an HOA is it provides many accessible amenities. Another thing, it reduces responsibility for homeowners. It keeps up the appearance of the neighborhood and all the homes. Creates higher resale value and property value. And then in some places, it also offers emergency service assistance. See that more like in buildings and whatnot, and certain planned communities, but those are several pros. Now, here are some of the cons for living in an HOA. You have fees and fines, and those fees and fines can be monthly, and I wouldn't say, well, yeah, if you're, not doing what you're supposed to do, those fines can come up monthly. Or annually, depending on how things go, biannually, with some fees. Many covenants and rules and restrictions throughout the HOA. So depending on what you think you want to do with your property, that could be a con. High possibility of poor management throughout the community. If things are being ran incorrectly, if it's, depending on how, you hire your board and whatnot. And then there's also the risk of a lien and or foreclosure. And again, back to the fines, that could be one of the big cons that happens. So check in over here. No comments. All right, no questions. We'll take another sip real quick and kind of see where we're at with stuff. All right, so multiple HOAs. What's that all about? So you might have seen where you were out looking at homes and whatnot, and you would see one HOA fee and one HOA neighborhood and then another. What exactly does that mean? So like here in Wilmington, you might live in Landfall, but within Landfall you have a smaller community like, say, the Regency. Or in Leland, you have Waterford, but within Waterford you have the Reserve. So like Waterford, you have a main clubhouse that all of Waterford can use, but in the Reserve there's actually a secondary clubhouse and a little boathouse that you can put in and get into the water at, that the rest of the Waterford can't be a part of unless you're part of the Reserve. Also, it might mean that there's certain ways that you can only build a house within, whether that's a patio home or, all homes have to be brick. So again, that's kind of one of the things that you'll see, especially in some of your larger communities throughout North Carolina and throughout America. So that's why you might see multiple HOAs from that standpoint. So here's one of the big things: HOA fees. How much? How much? That is a great question. So, with approximately 14,300 HOAs in North Carolina, each resident pays between $100 to $1,000. The average is typically between $200 to $300 per month, and that will depend on the type of community, the type of amenities, and the services that are provided. So, you definitely want to make sure that you get what you paid for type thing. But in 2023, North Carolina ranked ninth in the country for the highest percentage of homes in the HOAs. Now, not the highest HOA fees, but the highest percentage of homes in HOAs. The average monthly HOA fee in the country is about $390, which translates to about $4,700 per year. But in North Carolina, the average HOA fee is actually $385. So that's $5 less than the national average. But most here in North Carolina is actually around $250 a month. Now, where I live in Windsor Park right now is only $400 a year. And you might go, well, if that's $250 a month and you're only paying $400 a year, what does that cover? Great question. So let's discuss what HOAs can and do cover most of the time. So what does a HOA cover? It can cover the cost of maintaining common areas. If you're in a building, that could mean common area like a lobby and or possibly elevators, patios. In a community like Windsor Park, you're looking at the common areas. You're looking at some landscaping, swimming pools, other areas. You might have tennis courts. You might have volleyball nets, community clubhouse. In many cases, the fees do cover some utilities, such as water sewer fees and sometimes garbage disposal. But like I said, here in Windsor Park, you're looking at like sidewalks, again, ground maintenance areas, the Olympic-sized pool, the use of a clubhouse, picnic shelter, green areas. So for $400 a month, you are actually getting a really good deal compared to most of North Carolina is paying $250 a month. Windsor Park, that's only $400 a year for all that. So anyway, there's good and bads with that. So I've been asked multiple times, and one of the reasons why sometimes people don't want to move into an HOA outside of the fact of, they get to, dictate and tell you. And again, you can look at all that. As a realtor, I try and get all that information for anybody that's looking to move in. If they want to know, what can I do in my backyard? What am I able to build? In fact, knowing Windsor Park as well as I do, I have other agents that call me all the time. Hey, can we put a pool in? Or, can they put a shed in? And the answer is yes, as long as it all, goes within what Brunswick County says you can do. And again, the governing documents, the HOA, and whatnot. So yes, you are able to do a whole lot of stuff here in Windsor Park. Now, can I have a bright pink polka dotted purple house? The answer is probably going to be no. Can I paint my house exactly the same as the neighbors? The answer is probably going to be no, because they're not wanting everything to be super cookie cutter. Windsor Park has probably about 20 different house plans. Some neighborhoods have more, some have less with what they have to offer. But here in Windsor Park, I feel like they've done a very good job, even though there's, like I said, 10 to 20 good house plans of making it not look, just the same. But again, the HOA, where it does have these governing documents that take care of, hey, you got to cut your lawn, or, we'll do this, if you build this and it's not, done right, or, so many feet away from, the fence in the backyard or anything along those lines, yeah, they can come at you. So the question is can an HOA foreclose on you? Well, here in North Carolina, the simple answer is yes. An HOA is permitted to include charges for the following in its lien unless provided otherwise, and that is past due assessments, late charges not to exceed greater than $20 a month, fines for violations, interest on past due common assessments, and then other charges connected to any of the documents or unpaid assessments. So again, it's one of those things where with probably the managing company, you'll get a letter in the mail. They'll give you time. Some governing board will try and get in contact with you. Maybe a knock on the door, and I can honestly say, like for Windsor Park, I've seen some crazy stuff where it's like you got too many pizza boxes in the trash. Well, I'd be guilty, from that standpoint. But one of the things that we do want to take a look at and see is, are they able to do that? And I would say, unfortunately, but again, you've bought into that. Now, if you were there before, there should be something written up to where you're not part of that, or if there are some circumstances that's going on. But 9 times out of 10, if you're working with a good realtor, they're going to let you know if you're getting into an HOA. They're going to tell you what the HOA dues are, how many HOA dues there are, what you get out of the HOA, and everything along those lines. So there's the HOA fees. There could be multiple HOAs. There's pros and cons. They can foreclose, if they want to go that far. So I guess the last question, which was the first question, is, so are they worth it? Well, there is no yes or no answer to that, to be honest with you. And the reason why is because it's up to you. What are you looking for? If you are wanting a good, straight neighborhood that, hey, Jimbo is not going to have the truck up on, bricks in the front yard and hasn't mowed his grass, since Obama was in office. You see what I'm saying? Then an HOA probably isn't a bad idea. Also, from a standpoint of, hey, I don't want to necessarily spend $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 to have a pool in my backyard, but I want to have easy access to a pool. Well, then HOA might be something worth looking at, because bam, here in Windsor Park, like I said, you have access to a clubhouse, pool, picnic shelter, green area, nice playground, and a butterfly garden, sidewalks, some nice water pond areas and whatnot. So those are the things that you can look at from a standpoint of asking the question, is it worth it? So as I've laid this out, my question is it worth it to you? Comment below. What do you think are some good things that HOAs are able to do for you personally, or why you wouldn't want to do it? One of the things that comes to mind is, a lot of people like to have some chickens to have fresh eggs. Here in Windsor Park, it's pretty much cats and dogs. You can't really have farm animals. So if you are wanting to have some chickens and whatnot, then the HOA is going to let you know that. But at the end of the day, we want to give you this information so that you can make informed decisions on where you want to live, depending on what you want to have going on, because we want you sitting on your front porch and sipping some sweet tea. So if you do have any more questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me or comment below in the chat. Anytime we'll reach back out to you and say, hey, this is what we know, especially if we're talking about particular neighborhoods here in Southeast North Carolina. We would love to take care of you. But the question that we will say is, so are they worth it? That is up to you. And only you can answer that, because everybody has a little bit of this and a little bit of that as far as what works for them. For me, it has worked. I've been in, owned homes in HOAs and non-HOAs, and I've seen the benefits, and I have seen some of the downfalls also. But with that said, guys, y'all have a blessed day, and we'll see you on the flip side. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. Comment below.